Have you ever wondered why, in the exact moment you need strength the most, your body hesitates and your mind starts to fall apart? You tell yourself you are capable. You believe you are strong. But when pressure hits, something shifts. Your thoughts become loud, your focus breaks, your energy drops, and suddenly you are not the person you thought you were. That gap between who you believe you are and how you actually perform, that is where most people lose their power. And here is the uncomfortable truth. It has nothing to do with talent. It has everything to do with conditioning. Your mind and body are always learning. Every time you choose comfort, you train yourself to avoid difficulty. Every time you stop early, you teach yourself that limits come quickly. Every time you delay action, you reinforce hesitation. And over time, these small decisions build a version of you that cannot handle pressure. Not because you are weak, but because you have been trained to be. Most people never see this. They think they need more motivation, more inspiration, more confidence, but those are temporary. They come and go. What stays is conditioning. What stays is what you repeat daily. The ancient warriors understood this at a level most people today ignore. They didn't rely on how they felt. They didn't wait for the right mood. They didn't negotiate with their mind. They trained until action became automatic, until effort became normal, until pressure felt familiar. They removed the question of "can I do this?" and replaced it with "I have done this before." That is power, because when your body is conditioned, it does not panic. When your mind is trained, it does not hesitate. You don't need to convince yourself to act. You simply move. Right now, your life is being shaped by what you tolerate, the comfort you allow. The effort you avoid, the excuses you accept, these are not small things. These are the forces quietly building your future, and if nothing changes, the pattern continues. You stay in the same cycle. The same frustration, the same feeling of knowing you could do more, be more, become more, but never fully stepping into it. But here is the shift that changes everything. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your conditioning. Let that sink in. Because it means your future is not controlled by what you want. It is controlled by what you repeatedly do. And that should wake something up inside you, because it also means you can rebuild it. You can retrain your body to handle stress. You can retrain your mind to stay focused. You can condition yourself to act even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when every part of you wants to stop. This is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming prepared, prepared for pressure, prepared for challenge, prepared for the moments that actually define your life, and once you begin this process, something powerful happens. You stop fearing difficulty, you stop avoiding effort, you start leaning into it, because you understand that every hard moment is shaping you into someone stronger, someone more disciplined, someone more dangerous in the face of adversity. Stay with this, because what comes next will show you exactly how that transformation was built, and how you can begin forging it within yourself. This is where everything shifts, from understanding the problem to confronting the process that actually changes you. Real strength is not built in comfort. It is built in resistance, in repetition. In effort that feels heavy, slow, and unforgiving. The kind of effort most people avoid because it does not feel exciting. It does not feel fast. It does not feel rewarding in the moment. But it works. Your body does not care about your intentions. It responds only to what you demand from it. If you demand ease, it becomes soft. If you demand effort, it adapts. This is a law you cannot escape. Every action you repeat is shaping you, whether you realize it or not. The ancient method was simple but brutal. Movements repeated again and again, not for minutes, but until the body had no choice but to change. Not for appearance, but for function. Not for comfort, but for capability. And this is what most people misunderstand today. They chase quick results. They look for shortcuts. They want visible change without invisible effort. But the deepest transformations happen where no one is watching, in the quiet repetition. In the moments where quitting feels easier than continuing, that is where your real identity is being built. When your muscles burn and your breath becomes heavy, something else is happening beneath the surface. Your brain is sending signals asking you to stop. It is trying to protect you. It is trying to pull you back into comfort. And every time you listen, you strengthen that signal. But every time you continue, you weaken it. This is how resilience is formed, not in theory. Not in motivation, but in direct confrontation with resistance. You teach your system that effort is not a threat. That discomfort is not danger. That pushing forward is safe. And slowly, your limits begin to move. What once felt heavy starts to feel manageable. What once felt exhausting starts to feel normal. And what once felt impossible becomes something you do without thinking. This is not magic. This is adaptation. Your body rewires, your nervous system adjusts, your tolerance expands. And with every repetition, you become more stable under stress. But this only happens if the effort is real, if it challenges you, if it forces you to engage fully, if it demands your attention and your control. Because growth does not respond to half effort. It responds to intensity and consistency combined. Most people never reach this point because they stop too early. They feel the discomfort and assume that is the limit. But that is not the limit. That is the beginning. The real change happens after that moment, when your mind starts negotiating, when it tells you that you have done enough, that you can stop now, that you deserve rest, and maybe you do, but not yet. Because that voice is not your truth. It is your conditioning, and if you want to become stronger, you have to challenge it, not once, not occasionally, but consistently. You have to show yourself again and again that you are capable of more than your mind suggests, that your body can go further, that your limits are not fixed, are flexible. And as you do this, something powerful begins to take shape. You stop seeing effort as something to avoid. You start seeing it as something to seek, because you understand what it gives you: control. Stability, confidence. Not the kind that comes from thinking positive thoughts, but the kind that comes from evidence, from knowing without doubt that you have trained for difficulty. And when that realization settles in, everything changes, because now you are not hoping you can handle pressure. You know you can. And once you reach that point, something deeper begins to reveal itself. Your relationship with pain starts to change. Most people spend their entire lives trying to escape discomfort. They see it as a signal to stop, to slow down, to retreat. The moment something feels hard, they pull back. The moment effort becomes uncomfortable, they search for relief. And without realizing it, they train themselves to become fragile. Because what you avoid does not disappear, it grows. Every time you step away from discomfort, your tolerance shrinks. Small challenges start to feel overwhelming. Pressure feels heavier than it actually is. And slowly, your world becomes smaller, more controlled, more limited. But there is another way to experience pain, a way that does not weaken you, but builds you. Pain is not just something you feel, it is something that teaches, it reveals where you are. It shows you your current edge, and if you are willing to stay with it, to face it without running, it begins to change you. At first, it feels intense. Your body reacts, your mind resists. Everything inside you is trying to escape the moment. But if you hold your position, if you keep moving forward even slightly, something unexpected happens. The intensity does not control you anymore. You start to see that discomfort rises and falls. It comes in waves. And when you stop reacting emotionally, when you stop labeling it as something to fear, it loses its power. This is where most people break and where you begin to build. Because the moment you stop running from discomfort is the moment you start expanding your limits. Your brain begins to learn a new pattern. It starts to understand that effort is not danger, that pressure is not something to escape. And this rewiring changes everything. You become less reactive, more stable, more in control. This is what creates real mental strength, not avoiding difficulty but becoming familiar with it, not seeking comfort but learning to operate without needing it. Every time you push through that inner resistance, you are sending a message to yourself, a message that says, "I can handle this." And the more you repeat that message, the stronger it becomes. Until one day it is no longer a message. It is who you are, and this identity shift is powerful. Because once you see yourself as someone who can endure discomfort, your actions begin to align with that belief. You stop hesitating, you stop doubting, you start moving with certainty. Not because things are easy, but because you are stronger. This is how resilience is built. Layer by layer, moment by moment, choice by choice. It is not loud, it is not dramatic. It is quiet, consistent, and relentless. And over time, it creates a version of you that does not break under pressure. A version of you that does not panic when things get hard. A version of you that keeps moving forward, no matter what. Because you have trained for it. Because you have faced discomfort so many times that it no longer feels like an obstacle. It feels like a signal that you are growing, a signal that you are stepping beyond who you used to be. And once you understand that, you stop fearing pain, you start using it. And when you begin to use pain instead of fear it, your entire approach to discipline starts to transform. Because now, you are no longer relying on motivation to carry you forward. You are building something far more powerful, a system that works even when you don't feel like it. A pattern that keeps moving, regardless of your mood, your energy, or your circumstances. This is where most people fall apart, not because they lack ability, but because they lack structure. They depend on how they feel in the moment. If they feel strong, they act. If they feel tired, they stop. And this inconsistency destroys progress before it ever has a chance to build. But real discipline does not ask how you feel, it asks what must be done. And when you answer that question with action repeatedly, something begins to lock into place inside you. At first, it feels forced, unnatural. You have to push yourself. You have to override the voice that tells you to wait, to delay, to take it easy. But every time you act anyway, you create evidence, proof that you are capable of following through. That evidence matters more than motivation ever will, because your brain is always watching what you do. It is constantly updating its understanding of who you are. Not based on your thoughts, but based on your behavior. And when your behavior becomes consistent, your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You start seeing yourself as someone who executes. This is the discipline loop in motion. Action creates proof, proof builds belief, belief strengthens identity, and identity drives more action. It feeds itself, and the more you reinforce it, the less resistance you feel. What once required effort begins to feel automatic. You no longer debate whether to act, you simply do it. This is where freedom is found, not in doing whatever you feel like, but in becoming someone who is no longer controlled by feelings, because feelings are unstable. They rise and fall. They change without warning. If you depend on them, your progress will always be inconsistent. But when your actions are tied to a system, to a standard, to a non-negotiable commitment, you remove that instability. You create reliability, and reliability builds momentum. Momentum carries you forward on the days when everything feels heavy, when your energy is low, when your mind is distracted. It keeps you moving, even when you would normally stop. This is how real transformation happens, not through intensity alone, but through consistency over time. Small actions, repeated daily, without interruption. And the power of this cannot be overstated, because while others are waiting for the right moment, you are building. While others are starting and stopping, you are continuing. While others are hoping for change, you are creating it. This is the separation. This is what makes the difference between those who stay the same and those who evolve, and it is not complicated. It is not mysterious. It is simple but not easy. Show up, do the work, repeat, again and again until it becomes part of you. Until discipline is no longer something you force, but something you live. And when that happens, you no longer rely on bursts of motivation to move forward. You become unstoppable through consistency alone. And as consistency takes over, something even more powerful begins to form beneath the surface: control. Not just physical control, but emotional control. The kind that holds steady when everything around you starts to shake. The kind that keeps your mind clear when pressure rises and others begin to break. Because pressure is the ultimate test. It strips away preparation from illusion. It exposes whether your strength is real or imagined. And in those moments, you don't rise to what you hope you are, you fall to what you have trained yourself to be. Most people lose themselves under pressure because they have never truly faced it. Their breathing becomes erratic. Their thoughts scatter. Their decisions become rushed and emotional. This is not weakness. It is unfamiliarity. Their system has not been trained to stay calm in intensity. But when you repeatedly put yourself in controlled difficulty, something changes. Your body learns the feeling of stress. Your mind becomes familiar with discomfort, and instead of reacting, you begin to respond. This is the difference that changes everything. Reaction is automatic. It is driven by fear, by instinct, by the need to escape. Response is controlled. It is deliberate. It is grounded in awareness and choice. And that level of control is built, not given. Every time you continue through effort when your body wants to stop, you are training your nervous system. You are teaching it that this state is manageable, that you do not need to panic, that you can stay focused even when things feel overwhelming. Over time, this creates stability. Your breathing slows under pressure instead of speeding up. Your thoughts stay organized instead of chaotic. Your actions become precise instead of rushed. And this carries far beyond physical effort. It shows up in your decisions, in your work, in the way you handle challenges. You stop reacting emotionally to every obstacle. You start approaching them with clarity. This is what separates those who collapse under stress from those who rise through it. It is not strength alone. It is control under pressure. And once you develop this, fear begins to lose its influence over you. Not because fear disappears, but because it no longer dictates your actions. You feel it, but you do not follow it. You acknowledge it, but you move forward anyway. That is power. Because most people spend their lives trying to eliminate fear, but the real goal is to act in spite of it. To remain steady even when uncertainty is present. And this ability is forged through exposure. You cannot think your way into calmness, you must experience it. You must place yourself in situations where your system is challenged, and then learn to stay grounded within them. Again and again, until it becomes natural. Until pressure no longer feels like a threat, but like a familiar environment you know how to navigate. And when you reach that level, everything changes. You stop avoiding hard situations. You start stepping into them with confidence. Because you trust your ability to handle whatever comes. That trust is not built through words, it is built through proof. Through every moment you chose to stay when it was easier to leave. Through every time you held your focus when distraction tried to pull you away. Through every instance where you controlled your response instead of reacting blindly. This is how the mind becomes sharp. This is how the body becomes reliable. This is how you become someone who does not break when it matters most. And once you reach that point, you are no longer just enduring pressure. You are mastering it. And when you begin to master pressure, you start to understand something most people never realize. You are not stuck with who you are. You are shaped by what you repeatedly do. Every action you take is a signal. Every decision is a vote for the person you are becoming. And whether you see it or not, you are constantly forging yourself, either into someone stronger or someone more limited. There is no neutral. If you choose ease, you become easier to break. If you choose effort, you become harder to shake. It is that simple, but simple does not mean easy. Because every day you are faced with the same quiet choice, comfort or growth. And most people choose comfort without even thinking about it. They delay, they avoid, they justify, they tell themselves they will start tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes another day of the same pattern. And slowly that pattern becomes identity. Not because they decided it, but because they repeated it. But you are no longer blind to this. You can see the mechanism now. You understand that change is not about waiting for the right moment. It is about creating it through action. Through small, deliberate choices that push you forward, even when it feels uncomfortable. This is where your real power begins, not in dramatic transformation, but in quiet commitment. You do not need to change everything at once. You need to change what you tolerate. You need to raise your standard, just slightly at first. Just enough to challenge yourself without breaking consistency. One hard decision, one extra effort, one moment where you choose discipline over comfort, and then you repeat it. That repetition is what builds you, because over